Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director, for being here. You know, from day one, President Biden has made it clear that he intends to target the Second Amendment rights of millions of law-abiding Americans, from the ATF pistol brace rule to the recent zero-tolerance executive order targeting federal firearm licensees and background checks. It's more apparent than ever that the rights of law-abiding Americans are under attack. I want to go to the out-of-business records issue. Again, it was discussed earlier. As you know, FFLs must give their server of firearm transaction records to the ATF once they go out of business. And these files are converted into screenshots, which you testified that ATF cannot be searched electronically. And that
by name.
By name, right. So let's talk about that, because the data is searchable by other computer functions, correct?
I don't want to misstate on a technical question, because I'm certainly not a computer expert. But my understanding is we take out functionality to flatten that data.
Right.
That limits its search function consistent with the restrictions set by Congress. And that most of that was already happening before that report, but then there was an individual server that had not been accessed but was not compliant, that we had to do that with that particular data to make sure that we were fully compliant.
So you're aware that a FOIA request by the gun owners of America revealed that a user can filter results using serial number, document type, FFL number, role, frame, manufacturer, weapon type, caliber, model, batch description, batch name, and comments.
So we are compliant with the restrictions that Congress has set forth, but Congressman, these background checks that we conduct are done in homicide investigations where time matters and lives matter. And we are going to use the allowable things that we can do to try and help local law enforcement to catch killers.
You've said that ATF processes tens of millions of records per year. And in 2021, ATF told Congress they had over 920 million out-of-business records, including both digital and paper records. So has ATF's out-of-business record gun registry surpassed 1 billion records total?
I don't know. I know that last year, the paper records we received were something like 70 million, and I'm not quite sure of the exact number. There are a tremendous amount of records that we receive, and we are doing our best. Some of them are stored in boxes that sit on the side, and we run into those boxes where there's an investigation and try to help our local law enforcement partners. We're doing our best.
But with all of this information that you're gathering that is searchable, that is enough for you to create a list of every, for example...
it's not.
Well, it is.
Every single firearms dealer that's currently in business, every single one, we don't have any records.
You have the ability to create a registry, for example, of AR-15s and create an enforcement list of his new ban on pistol brace weapons, correct?
I disagree.
Well, I think the evidence is clear that you have that ability. Even if you say you don't, just freezing the name, the searchable database by name is not enough. So what we have here is valid concerns that ATF is taking a backdoor approach to creating a federal firearms registry despite congressional intent and the law that says no such registry should be created. So last year we received a response to a letter sent to ATF regarding our concerns surrounding the out-of-business records and a potential gun registry, and in response you said, or the ATF said, the vast majority of the criminal firearms traces completed by ATF NTC are done for state and local law enforcement agencies, as you just said, across the country pursuant to active law enforcement investigations. And the NTC only traces crime guns, and every trace must be identified as such by the requester by selecting an appropriate crime code when submitting the trace request. But it further states that the NTC has no ability to determine the successful prosecution of hundreds of thousands of crime gun traces it completes annually, nor does it have any way to link a trace for a specific prosecution for a particular year. And last week, you wrote back to a further request that said the NTC cannot determine the number of prosecutions resulted from completing crime gun trace requests. So can you tell me what percentage of local law enforcement agencies use the NTC to trace crimes?
So with respect to the percentage that are currently using, which I think I talk to people about trying to increase it. It's free information in
about
active
half,
criminal.
right?
It's around 50%, give or
Right.
take.
So if half of the country's local and state law enforcement isn't using the NTC, then what's the purpose of it other than to create an unlawful registry if there's no way to determine that they're contributing to successful prosecutions?
Well, it's because we were asked it's over 600 separate times by state and local law enforcement running criminal investigations to trace firearms that local cops, chiefs, sheriffs associated with the crime. And that is important criminal investigative material that we
How
get
do you
back
know
to
you
them
don't have that data?
in Highland Park, Illinois, a mass shooter killed 7
anecdotal
people
evidence.
in
I
New
yield
York.
back.
In New